You guys, so Barcelona beat Real Betis 5-3 in La Liga, and boy, when I tell you this was an interesting game, we had a first half hat-trick from Ferran Torres. Yes, you heard that right, the shark was sharking today, and of course we still had some defensive collapse from FC Barcelona, because what is a Barcelona game without a defensive collapse, you know? Okay, fine, let's talk about it. But first, if this is your first time seeing my face or watching any of my videos, or maybe you've been watching without subscribing, hi guys, hey friend, I'm Just Max, and on this channel I talk about football, La Liga, FC Barcelona, UEFA Champions League, and so much more. If this is something that you're interested in, please stick around, be my friend, be my homie. I would love to grow this channel with you, and of course I'm a culé, so it's always going to be Vishka Barca for me on this channel as well. So let's jump into the game that we have just seen from FC Barcelona today, because there is so much we have to talk about. Now listen, I'm going to be first and honest. When I saw the lineup that Hansi Flick intended to put out, I was very nervous. In fact, I'm on record on Twitter as saying, I don't know what the sauce is saucing. I don't know what you're trying to cook. What is Rooney Baghdadi doing in the lineup? Where is my Rafinha? Because if you know me, if you watch even a lick of my videos, you would know I live for Rafinha. So the fact that he wasn't in the lineup, I was nervous. I'm not gonna lie. But there's a reason why Hansi Flick is the coach of FC Barcelona, and I'm just some chick on YouTube talking about football. So let's look at the lineup that he put out today. In goal, it was Joan Garcia, our ever-present stalwart since he came back from injury. And of course, in left back, it was Alex Balde, who I thought had a good game. Gerard Martin is really impressing me. I can't even lie to you. Like, he's really putting together a good season for himself. Again, another wonderful performance from him. Partnered with Pau Kubasi in that right centre-back position. And again, this 18-year-old is living beyond expectation. Leading that lineup as a young lad has to be, like, rewarded. Jules Koundé, he came in the right back position, and he had kind of like two halves of a game. I thought there was a moment where he was very, very good, but then he did end up giving away that penalty, which kind of made it a more nervy finish for Barcelona towards the end. But, you know, I'm going to forgive him today, honestly. When we come into the midfield, it was Pedri partnered with Eric Garcia today. We didn't get to see Frenkie de Jong from the start, but we do get to see Frenkie de Jong much later in the game. What was the most surprising shift of play today for me, I would say, was that we saw Lamine Yamal in the 10 today. And I was like, okay, this is a different thing. This is something that I've been wanting to explore. I'm not even going to lie, because again, I felt like defenders are starting to figure out like how to like triple double, you know, on man mark Lamine Yamal on the wings, and sometimes he does cut an isolated figure out there. So I've always wanted to see what he was able to do if they moving inward, and let's see how that would work out. So Hansi Flick did end up taking that risk in today's game, and boy, when I tell you he did have a game, he was constantly interchanging. So just because he started in the 10 doesn't mean he wasn't sometimes on the wings. There was that kind of freedom to interchange and roam around the field, and I live for it today. He had a really good game. When we start to look forward in the lineup as well, things was a little bit different. We did get to see Rooney Baghdadi in that right hand side position where we would have normally seen Lamine Yamal, and I thought Rooney Baghdadi had a wonderful game. What a way to announce yourself in La Liga. I know he hasn't had a lot of playing time of late, and I think a lot of that was made, a meal of it was made in the media this week, talking about the fact that he hasn't started recently. And so to be able to take the moment when you get an opportunity and really run with it, I have to give this player his stance, because today was sensational. He did had a goal, and he did have an assist of his own. So that was a really, really good game for him. On the left hand side, it was Marcus Rashford for Barcelona. I'm sure when Marcus Rashford goes back and look back on the film for that 1v1 miss, when he could have taken it over the top and put Barcelona 6-2 ahead. I'm sure when he goes back and look at the film, he's going to be like, oh my gosh, because like it was a really, really bad miss, because Pedri does play him very well into space, but then he just had way too much time to try and figure out what he wants to do, and he ended up picking up the wrong decision. But today, the star of the show was Ferran Torres. When I tell you that my man was the most efficient I have ever seen him in a La Liga game for Barcelona, I can't even lie to you. Like, he had 3 chances in that first half, he had 3 goals. That's how the level of efficiency we're talking about. Like, if you watch my videos when I've talked about Ferran Torres in the past, it's always been the fact that, you know, Ferran Torres is not the heir to Lewandowski, because I felt like if you give Ferran Torres 10 chances, he might end up scoring like 4, but today he was like, I am him. I'm going to get 3 chances and I'm going to put 3 in the back of the net. And that's what we want to see. But let's talk about what we saw from the game as a whole. Like I mentioned, I was very nervous when I saw this lineup. I wasn't confident, but this lineup blew me away. The way they played, it blew me away. I would admit they didn't start off well, customary with Barcelona. I've started to get used to the idea that Barcelona will concede the first goal. At the same time, I was saying to just now on TikTok, and if by the way you're not following me on TikTok, you're missing out on a whole lot of content that I put out there. I talk about the Prem there, I talk about like UCL stuff and all of those things. So if you are interested in that stuff as well, it's at the Just Max Show or Just Max on TikTok. Go follow me there. I talk about all of that stuff there as well. And very, very quickly too, like I do like nuggets of videos on TikTok, stuff that don't end up coming to YouTube, they end up on TikTok. So you want to be out there, I promise you. But anyway, I was just saying on TikTok just now that I think that this Barcelona team is actually starting to condition me to be okay with the fact that they're going to concede the first goal. And I actually like and prefer it when teams score within the first 5, within the first 10, 20 minutes. Like if you plan to score against FC Barcelona, and I know this is a controversial take, but like for me right now, where I'm at with this team and the way we defend, like if it's in your intent that you want to score against us in the game, please try and do it early. Like do it within the 5 minutes, do it within the first 10 minutes, so that we can have like 80 minutes to figure it out, so we can like turn things around. Because like when teams come against Barcelona and they do hit us very quickly, I'm not really nervous because I know that we had like so much time to turn things around. Like as it was with this game, Real Betis did end up taking the lead on the 6th minute of play through an opportune chance that fell to Anthony. Barcelona do not clear their line very well, and of course he's right place, right time, and no mistake from him. He puts the ball well past Joan Garcia, which by the way, Joan Garcia, in trying to save this, but he did hit the Ter Stegen post. I'm not even going to lie to you, and that traumatized me a little bit. But I was not really worried. I was disappointed that we had gone ahead to concede the first goal, but at the same time, I wasn't really worried because, like I said, if you're going to score against Barcelona, I prefer that you do it early. It gives us a lot of time to like figure it out. But again, would I prefer that we not concede? I actually would. But one of the things that I'm starting to learn about this Barcelona team is that they don't like to play football easy. I don't know why. I've been saying this since last season that this is not sustainable, the way they like to do a comeback. But they've been doing it, and I cannot lie, it's been working for them, because like when Anthony scored, Real Betis must have thought that they had this one in the bag. They can now go on to do what they needed to do. Absolutely not, because Barcelona stood up and went into a different gear. They shifted into a different gear, and within the next 6 minutes, Barcelona will be up 2 goals. Yeah, oh yes, and those 2 goals came courtesy of Ferran Torres. And one of the things I want to highlight is on the right hand side, like many of Barcelona's attack in that first half came in that right hand side. So let's take a look at the sequence of play that happens here. Again, it comes with a combination play between Pedri, Rooney and Koundé that unleashes the final ball across into the box, finds Ferran Torres very well placed in the center, and he just puts his leg through it. Or I would like to say he lets it hit his leg, and then it just goes way past the goalkeeper, and it's 1-0 for Barcelona. And at that moment, the way that Barcelona were playing, you could feel like it's gonna be another one, because again, not 2 minutes after that goal was scored, again between Ferran, Koundé, Pedri, they all combine, and Rooney as well, to again unleash Ferran as well. Rooney this time is the one who delivers the final ball across from the right hand side of the pitch and puts it into the box for Ferran Torres, whose this finish is even better than the first one, because I feel like he did like a little bit of a technique to like sweep the ball, and I really lived for it. And I'm not even going to lie to you, I was so shocked. Like I said, Ferran Torres is not the guy that scores 2 chances 2 for 2. Like he's the kind of guy that scores 2 for 10, so the level of efficiency that I was seeing from him, I have to applaud him. Now, let's take it back a little bit to the game against Chelsea. He did come under a lot of criticism when Barcelona fans felt like if he had scored that first opener for Barcelona, maybe the game would have taken a whole lot of different complexions. And so he did come under a lot of criticism. In the last game against Atletico Madrid, he did end up coming on and scoring the final goal for Barcelona, which made the result 3-1. And he did do a celebration where he told everyone to shut the hell up, which I live for. Talk your talk when you're scoring, do your thing. And so the fact that he's been able to follow that up, that performance, with another good performance, this time 2 for 2. I live for it. This is how you respond to criticism, in my opinion, right? You have to be able to rise above it, and you have to show your quality, because I'm not you. You know what you're capable of better than I do. So for him to be able to take the criticism that he has received the last 2 weeks and then turn it into productivity, I really want to take some time to applaud this player, because he's just doing everything that I want in a good player. Do I think of him as Barcelona's first striker? No, I don't. Let's not get it twisted. In fact, even against Eintracht Frankfurt, I don't know that I want him to start. I don't know, because that's a must-win game. However, I love the mentality that he's showing here. The fact that he was able to take those criticism, turn it around, and do of the kind of games that we see. The one against Atleti, which was a very, very well-needed goal, and now this one to lead the remontada for Barcelona and put us 2 goals ahead within the space of 2 minutes, thanks to 2 chances that he got. That's exactly what I need from Ferran Torres. So take your turns. Now, as the game continued to progress, one of the things that was very surprising to me was the level of space that I was seeing between Real Betis and their players. Like, I was very confused. Like, I don't know who you think you are. I don't know who you think you're playing. But like, Real Betis were not compact at all. There was a lot of spaces in between Real Betis players for Barcelona to, find players. And here's the thing that made it so funny for me, because leading into this game, Real Betis were one of the most defensive team, or they had one of the best defensive records in La Liga. And so coming into this game, I would have expected them to take a more compact shape, when they were defending, and find moments where they can hit Barcelona on the transition, or try to break the Barcelona high line, something of that nature. But that's not what I saw. So I was kind of confused. Like, who do you think you are? Like, if you're going to be playing Barcelona, especially when they're in the mood like this, you're going to concede, and a lot. So one of the things that in that first half I saw from Real Betis was Barcelona was able to make that pitch big. They were able to spread them all over the pitch, and most of the times it was like very comical to me. I could not stop laughing. It's like, what are you guys doing? But also, one of the things I loved from a Barcelona perspective, I felt like they were a lot more direct. Like, in that first half, they weren't passing for the sake of passing's sake. There wasn't just movement of ball for the sake of movement. Every ball, and it had an end product, and I lived for it. Like, let's take a look at the third goal from Rooney Baghdadi. It all stems from one through ball pass from Pedri that splits open the entire Real Betis defense. Again, like I mentioned at the start of this segment, like, Real Betis were so wide, so the fact that the pass from Pedri, it was just one ball, and there we have it. Rooney Baghdadi is clear on goal. And then the calmness that this young player, again, he's only 18 or 19 or 20, around that age grade, the calmness that he has to be able to take the ball and then score a golazo, because that's exactly what it is. I live for it. That's going to be his first La Liga goal for FC Barcelona, and I know he needed it. Because like, the last few times that he's played for Barcelona, he's really tried to get on the score sheet. He's really done a lot of things, but like, to be able to get one goal today, and a really, really good one too, I was so happy for him. And I was so happy for Barcelona to the way they bounced back from exactly that, going down early, and then now turning it around. I thought it was sensational. Yeah. And then it was not going to end there. Again, it just continues with that whole directness I was talking about. And one of the things I want to highlight too, I want to thank everybody today. They really did use Pedri. Like, I loved the way that they use Pedri. Like, Pedri has been creating chances this season. I felt like one of the things that he's done so well this season is like, he makes chances. The unfortunate part of it is that we've not been very clinical in our attack this season at all. But today I felt like every time that Pedri created something, it was getting done. Like, Rooney Baghdadi scoring that goal, or the third goal, and of course Pedri, giving the assist for Ferran Torres, who scored the fourth goal again in the first half. I was very happy for him, because like, his efforts are finally being rewarded with an end product, and I live for it. Now, talking about the goal from Ferran Torres, yes, he does get a deflection, yes, but it was a good pass from Pedri, and then he takes it and he hits it. The defenders don't close him down. I don't know why. He was clearly hot in this game, so I would have thought that they would want to close him down. They didn't do that. And then he takes the ball very, very well, and it just goes past the goalkeeper. And I'm not going to lie to you, I was not expecting Barcelona to score from there at all. Like I was like looking forward to like maybe we can go into halftime with a 3-1 lead, and that's okay. But to go into halftime with a 4-1 lead was even beyond anything that I would ever like kind of like imagine that we could do, especially knowing that, you know, it's kind of like we did concede early. So it was a really, really good first half from Barcelona as a whole. I loved it. I was excited with what I saw, and the best part of it was that it didn't seem to me that we would need the services of Rafinha and Lewandowski, which meant like looking into the future when we play Eintracht Frankfurt in midweek in the Champions League, which by the way is a must-win game. We could have like fresh players. In the second half though, we did see a different dynamic here. Of course, Hansi Flick started to make a bit of changes. We did see the introduction of Andres Christensen, Fermin Lopez, Frankie de Jong, Marc Bernat, and Geoffrey Torrent. And I think that the changes, it kind of messed with the dynamic of the team. Unfortunately, we didn't have the same level of, I want to say, focus that we had in the first half. I thought the intensity dropped a ton. Barcelona players in the first half, I felt like the defense was doing a lot, like the way they were having their recovery runs, the way they were snuffing out Betis chances, versus the way they were doing it in the second half. It was very chaotic in the second half. I'm not even going to lie to you. And I thought like maybe it was a little bit of mental fatigue as well started to set in, but also it also stems down to what Rafinha says: when you press high, when you try to recover the ball closer to the opponent's 18, you give yourself better chances to score, as opposed to like you just dropping your intensity. I felt like that intensity dropped in the second half, and we didn't do ourselves any favors. Fortunately though, we were rewarded with a penalty, which I don't really think it was a penalty, honestly. It's a strike from Marcus Rashford on goal. It does hit Marc Bernat, who was like making a sliding tackle, and then, you know, it kind of like hit his hand. It hit his thigh first and, you know, ricochets up to his hand, and then the referee gives a penalty. Do I think it's a penalty? No. Am I happy for it to be given? Yes. You know, but again, when you look at the grand scheme of things in the way that the match had shaped up to that point, it did not affect anything. I think that Barcelona were already like well ahead, you know, so even if the referee had ended up giving or not giving the penalty, I was confident that we were still going to win the game anywho. But anywho, the penalty was given. Lamine Yamal did score. I'm not going to lie to you. When they gave the penalty, I was like, we don't used to score penalties in this club. Well, I'm not really, we don't used to score, but he did take a very, very like confident penalty. And maybe we do have a penalty taker in Lamine Yamal and Rafinha. I don't know, but we'll still figure that out. So at that point, it's 5-1 for Barcelona. And like I said, the intensity from our team, it dropped a ton. It dropped a ton. And towards the end of it, like the last 10 minutes, it ended up becoming a little bit more nervy than we needed to be. And this is something that I would love Hansi Flick to address, because in the 85th minute, Diego Llorente did end up scoring a header. Again, it was through a corner kick. We didn't defend those very well. It misses everybody. Or would I say it didn't miss Abde? Abde cushions the header to Llorente, who's looking in the back post, and all he had to do was a quick tap in, and that was it. You know, again, it was a very simple goal from Real Betis, but it just stems down from our lack of defensive, you know, energy. It had dropped so drastically that nobody was picking him up back there, and it's something that I would want Hansi Flick to address. Koundé, up until this point, I thought he was having a good game, especially when there was that one instance in the first half where, you know, they were playing their way out of the penalty box. It stressed me a little bit, but the way that they were so confident and the way they were toying with the Real Betis players, he had a good game. But then to see him go again and concede that penalty to to Real Betis, which Cucho Hernandez ends up scoring, I just put it down to mental fatigue. Like, that tackle, not needed, you know. But again, I'm not going to like pile on him, because like I said, I felt like he had a good game. Like, going forward, he did get himself an assist. He was involved in many of the good things that was happening in that right-hand chain for Barcelona. And of course, defensively too, I felt like he was good as well. But then this penalty that he considered towards the end of the game on the 90th minute was the only thing that kind of put a damper on his performance for me, and something that I need Hansi Flick to address privately, I would say, because like I said, that defensive intensity, it dropped, and the only reason he made that tackle, which he would not have made at all, like the Koundé I know would not have made that tackle normally, was because he was mentally fatigued. Anyway, there was a last minute flurry, last minute push from Real Betis, but ultimately I'm excited because Barcelona do end up holding. It was 5-2, 5-3 at the end of the day. I live for it. I'm happy that we didn't end up needing Rafinha, who's very fresh. We didn't end up needing Lewandowski. So we've turned our focus now to the game against Eintracht Frankfurt, which, as I mentioned earlier, is a must win. We cannot afford to not win this game. So the idea that we have some fresh players ahead of that game is sensational. But this has been it for me from this game. I live for everything that we did in this match today. We go 4 points clear of Real Madrid until they play Celta Vigo tomorrow, which I will be watching and talking about. By the way, I do talk about a lot of Real Madrid games in my stories, in my shorts form content. So in case you're interested in some of those, please do well to check those out. But let me know what you thought about this game in the comment section. Who stood out to you in this game? I don't really have a clear favorite because I thought everybody was good. But if I was going to highlight one player as someone I was happy for, well, two players as I was happy for, it would be Ferran Torres and Rooney Baggi. Rooney Baggi because he took his opportunities when they came, and Ferran Torres because, you know what, when he told us to shut up, he is following through on his command, and that's on period.